Lost it to the neck, but now I'm trophied up. I'm saying like, bing, bop, boom, 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 bop, bam.
What's good? And thank you for tuning in today. I got a very special guest for y'all today. This guest is near and dear to my heart. She is something that a lot of people can aspire to be. She's accomplished a lot in her time on this earth, and we're about to give y'all her origin story. If a superhero was a person, I think you're about to love this one. Without further ado, let's get this conversation started off right. I give to y'all Miss Brittani Pleasant.
Oh, well,
How
you
you
done really
doing?
talked me up. I'm scared.
Nah, don't be scared. Don't be scared. How you doing today, bestie?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm all right. Thank you for taking time to come onto the podcast.
You're welcome. I do anything for you.
Oh, thank you. So go on and tell the audience about yourself,
Well, where do you want me to start?
wherever you feel comfortable starting.
Well, I was born and raised in Corpus Christi, Texas,
Big ups
where
to Corpus. Big ups to
where
Corpus.
me and DJ met when we were teenagers. I am the daughter of a pastor. I am one of six, I guess two pastors now because my mom's a pastor and my father's an apostle. And we were in church every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
I
Saturday.
was just there Sunday. But yeah, she was
We were there. Yeah, we were in church every day. Every
yeah.
day that ended in day, we were in church. And that's what we've stuck with. That's what I've stuck with. I love Jesus with all my heart. He's
Amen.
the only reason why any of this is possible.
Amen.
Yeah, so I born and raised, grew up in Corpus, graduated from Carroll High School, went to college there at A&M in Corpus.
A&M, all right, big ups.
A&M in Corpus, and got my bachelor's in 3.5 years in criminal justice with a couple of minors in English and philosophy. And some people don't know about that.
I didn't know about the philosophy.
Yeah,
That's ooh
yeah.
topical over here. Yes,
I
it's
know.
gonna be a good one.
I always had a thing for wanting to think a little deeper. Yeah, and you know that. Like I love, the process of, getting to the root of why people do what they do and
The ultimate why.
the ultimate
Yes.
why. The ultimate why.
Yes.
And I thought it was a lot of fun. We had classes that explored the questions of, is God real, and
Mm-hmm.
all of that stuff. And even as someone who is very deep into their faith, I think it's important for us to know stuff like that because if anything, I think it kind of solidifies our faith.
Yes. Yes.
It solidifies it. I'm a big champion that I believe science actually explains God to us and it doesn't refute it.
The only one who thought that, like people don't really understand. Science
Yeah.
doesn't just science says there's a cause, there's causality for everything.
Yeah.
Nothing just happens off a chance. There's a cause.
Absolutely.
And I was listening to one video, and the video basically just to sum it up, it basically said God is the cause,
Hmm.
and reality or the universe is the effect. Because God spoke, there the universe is.
Correct. I believe that. I believe that whatever they consider that Big Bang was God opening his mouth and saying, let there be. That's me. I believe that that's the absolute truth. I think that science actually explains God and it doesn't refute it. And so, as Christians, as we know, I don't think we
Hmm.
should be afraid of, exploring any of that because we
Nah,
need to know. We need to
we
know.
definitely do. We definitely do that. I mean, that you're speaking truth to facts right now because you to call yourself a Christian and to be afraid to dive into science because you're afraid that it may
May shake
shake
your
up your faith, then how much faith do you really have
absolutely.
to really fall back on? Because I've studied science, I've looked into science. I'm street smarts. I didn't go to college. I love knowledge. I love it. Like I love getting knowledge just for the sake to have it because my grandpa always told me you don't want to be the smartest one in the room, but you sure as hell don't want to be the
Want to be
dumbest
the
one in the
dumbest. Yeah, my dad always told me, he said, you should know a little bit about everything so that there's no one in the world you can't have a conversation with.
room. So this is gonna be a good conversation.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, sparked your interest? You know, granted, I've known you since we were knee high to a grasshopper.
Mhm.
What sparked your interest to pursue criminal justice? Whether like a video, a movie, whether a cousin, a sister, brother, what ignited that fire?
So, okay. So if I'm being honest, I didn't really have just like an interest in criminal justice per se.
Mm-hmm.
My sister, who is the only other college graduate in our family, my older sister, she got her degree in criminal justice.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of the reasons for pursuing it, but not because it was a passion. Once I got there, I saw kind of how the curriculum was set out, and I said, this would be a good foundation for law school.
Mm-hmm.
That was my thoughts. Well, about 2 years into it, I realized that there was more to law school than just knowing how, the system, right? There was the intellectual part, the writing part, the being able to effectively communicate. And so that's why I picked up that minor in English and philosophy to help me learn how to think,
Mm-hmm.
also so I can effectively communicate.
Okay, okay.
So criminal justice was just kind of the bedrock to kind of introduce me to a system that I wanted to be part of because I wanted to be a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
So, or actually, I wanted to be an attorney. See, I learned something, and maybe you don't know this, but there's a difference between an attorney and a lawyer.
Whoa, okay, hold up, time out, time out. Aren't they one and the same?
They are not. They are
They're
not.
not.
They're not.
Wow.
Yeah.
This whole
They're not.
time oh crap.
No, you and 98% of the world, yeah. But no, they're the different words because they're two different people. And it just has to do with the credentials. So a
Okay.
lawyer is somebody who has studied the law and is qualified to interpret the law. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about a lawyer, biblically speaking, like Paul would have been a lawyer because he studied the law and he was qualified to interpret it. The scribes were qualified for that. But an attorney is somebody who has gone to school and obtained the credentials to interpret the law and to represent others.
So an attorney has the credentials and the lawyer can
Is just
just interpret it.
qualified. Correct.
And
Interesting.
Turner.
Historically speaking, President Lincoln was a lawyer. He didn't go to school, but he did an apprenticeship, right? And so those were lawyers, right? Now we have a whole system that accredits you to become someone who can represent others, and those are attorneys.
Okay. Yo, we're only like 8 minutes in and you're already blowing my mind because I did not know the difference. Like I've
Isn't
always
that
said,
interesting? I thought it
that
was
is very
interesting.
interesting.
I hate lawyers. Well, I guess attorneys. Now we use it interchangeably, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lawyer is an attorney is a lawyer. Originally and historically speaking, they were two different people. So, now I think the culture now just uses them interchangeably, so they mean kind of the same person because, there's no one really interpreting the law that isn't an attorney that isn't accredited to do so, right? In our society. But yeah, so I just thought that was really interesting. So when I call myself a lawyer,
Are you a lawyer? So I can get it right. The people need to get it right. My bestie is which are you? Are you an attorney or are you a lawyer?
I'm an attorney.
My bestie isn't an attorney. Yes. Get it right. She is not a lawyer. For those of y'all that have been saying she's an attorney, matter of fact, I'm gonna tell Ashley, look, babe, she's an attorney. She's not a lawyer. So if we get into hot water, we're gonna go get her an attorney.
I just thought it was the most interesting thing in the world. But yes. Anyway, so yeah, the reason that getting back to what we were talking about, yeah. So the whole reason for studying criminal justice is to have a good foundation to go to law school. That was always the goal, has been the goal since I was about 14, 15 years old.
Okay. And so from what it sounds like, your sister kind of sparked that interest because she studied criminal justice, and then you just pursued it further, and now you're living off of that. So I gotta ask it: is it a job or is it a passion?
You know what? The process is a passion. the process is a passion. If I'm being honest, it can sometimes feel very much like a job because everybody needs something, everybody needs their lawyer at the same time. And so you're kind of cranking it out, and it can sometimes feel like a job. But what I do, I tell my employees, I tell the people that I work with, you're very much in the business of people, right? And some of my clients, some of the people I work with, they're just the most amazing, most interesting people in the world. And I wouldn't trade that part for anything. The people that I get to speak to and I get to meet, those that are really good people that just need somebody to help them work through a hard time, being able to help them. That is the part for me that's a passion. Reading case law and having to do the research and drafting and
Yeah,
fussing
yeah.
and counsel, that part can be more of a job.
Job, yeah.
Working
But the
with
people
people,
aspect is the passion.
that's
That's dope because that brought me to my next question. See, we're right here. So, in being a Christian, and I don't use that term you loosely, how does your faith coincide with how you conduct your business? Like, have you ever been in a situation working doing law where you're like, man, like this is kind of, I feel like this situation is kind of, it's going against my core principles. Have you ever been in a situation? Do attorneys run into that situation?
any profession that you'll ever go into will run into that situation. I will say this: attorneys get a really bad rap off of a few bad apples.
Mm-hmm.
Lawyers are often lined up with liars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just lie, they gonna. And in the 9 years that I have worked as an attorney, and that I've done this, that I've worked and represented people, there are times where lying could have maybe, benefited me in some way. But ultimately, if you do the job right, you'll never be tempted to lie because the job itself is making the best argument. That's it. That's it.
Okay. All right.
There's no need to lie when you hone your skills. I mean, you become the best you can at what you do. There's no reason to lie. You present what you got, in the best way possible. And that, like I said, the job itself is, who has the best evidence and who can make the best argument. And so it's more of a, I would say it's more of a competition of wit. And so as far as my moral compass being compromised in the job, do I run into it? Do I do I say, man, I really tell this person this and that would? Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Am I tempted? Yes, like in
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
else. I mean, but I would be tempted as a bagger at HEB. I could be tempted as a bartender at, Hooters, whatever, And so as far as my moral compass being challenged in any way,
Mm-hmm.
no more than usual. And that's where integrity kicks in. And I'm a huge proponent of integrity. There's a lot that I can do that maybe nobody would ever see, maybe nobody would ever find out, but it matters to me. And because I know that my God is watching, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't.
No, that makes perfect sense. I mean, and you said it best. A lot of people do conflate the two with lawyers and lawyers, So I don't know. It just came to me because it was all like, man, does that moral compass happen? Because I mean, and you said it. We all face it every day. I face it myself, and I don't even do what you do. I work in the refinery. And so we're in charge of putting in our own time. And there's been a couple of times where I know they'll pay it out,
Yeah.
but it's still like,
For that hour on there, they
nah,
wouldn't know. Yeah.
nah, let me just I'm gonna put it
Right.
in the correct time, like, just today. So like so and it sounds like your religion and your Christianity, your belief in God is your guiding compass. Would that be fair to say? That's kind of what you model yourself after?
It certainly is. Most days I go into the office and I sit down at my computer, and before I even pull up my email, I said, Lord, you let me know the best way to be productive today. It's certainly it's not even a guiding compass. It's part of the core of it's the core of what I do. It's at the center of it. So I mean, going through my origin story, I graduated with the criminal justice, and then I went to law school here in St. Mary's, and I graduated from there in 2.5 years. And when I took the bar once, passed the bar, and when I became a lawyer and when I became an attorney, I told God, I said, this is dedicated back to you. Because I told my husband, I said, he wasn't my husband at the time. He was still my fiance, but I told him, I said, I don't want to work for anybody else. And I truly believe that God is going to give me what I need to be able to, to do this thing myself. He said, okay. And so I went from law school to the bar to my own law firm and no clients and student loans and all of that.
Yeah.
And, and now I'm in a very, very, very different place than I was 9 years ago. And I know that it's only because of the grace of God. So, it's certainly one of those. My baby's crying. Y'all can hear in the background.
No, we love it. We love it. Little bit over there. We
Yeah,
love her.
my little sweeties. But it's certainly, 100% God is in the middle of it. I dedicated my business and dedicated all that I do as an attorney back to him a long time ago, from day one. The day I found out it was, that I passed the bar, it was dedicated back to him. So it's the bedrock, the foundation of all that I do.
There y'all got it. Y'all ain't dealing with just any attorney. You dealing with an attorney that got her foundation on solid ground. Because all other ground is sinking sand.
Yes, sir.
On
Yes,
Christ, the solid rock, I stand.
yes, sir.
Yes, Lord.
Come on, preach, preacher.
Well, how does you're a business owner and you're a mom and a
Mhm.
mom of three and
Mhm.
a wife. So how explain to the world how do you balance it? Where does the where's the teeter totter at?
Yeah, I have learned there is no such thing as balance. It is just priorities, quite honestly. I mean,
Mm,
you and that priorities list changes from day to day. There are days where my clients need me, but my son needs me more, you know, and I have to decide, you know, okay, my son needs me today. Client, you're going to have to wait until tomorrow. It's not going to kill you. You'll be fine. I tell anybody, they're like, girl, how do you balance it all? I don't. I just prioritize whichever is most important today. And when no fires are going on, cool, then we got what you could consider some balance, right? I go to work, I leave at 5, I come home and see my kids.
yeah.
But like this week, I was a fireman all week at work. So I was coming home and I was tired, but even in that, I had to give of myself because my children deserve me too, my husband deserves me and my energy too, not just the
Mm,
business. And so balance is not always a possibility, and it doesn't always exist. Most of the time, it's just prioritizing. I know it sounds good. It
yeah.
sounds good. Work-life balance. It sounds good. And this may just be true for me. I don't know. I don't know if other business owners feel this way, but balance isn't always a thing. Sometimes it's just the list. I need to go down the list. Who or what needs me more today?
Hmm.
And needs to happen right now versus something that can wait.
Yeah, because a lot of people get that mindset. Once I become a business owner, or I'll open up my own store, or I start working, I'm gonna do this my way. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna do that. So I mean, it boils down to, from what you're saying, it's not just about, it's prioritizing. It's not just about, I'm gonna do what I want to do when I want to do it. It's, okay, I gotta do this mathematical, help my son out with this mathematical equation. Hey son, I love you. After this mathematical equation, I gotta go type up an email real quick,
Yep.
and then we'll come back and then we'll move to English. So I get it, because I have 5, and
I know you got the 5. Lord, help them, help them. I
Jesus
pray. I
Lord,
pray for you every day, every day.
thank you, because Lord knows I need it. Lord knows I need it, especially with these kids. And then my wife's in school. She's about to
Yeah,
graduate. Big ups to my
I'm
wife,
so
because she's
proud of her.
about to do that thing,
I'm so
get her
proud of her.
bachelor's. My sister-in-law just graduated with her master's. Congratulations, Shantae.
Oh, yay!
So
Congratulations to
I'm
her.
so proud of them. I mean, and it's a true testament to what God can do, because God
Absolutely.
has really been working. And doing, just starting my podcast this year has been, it's been tremendously, I don't want to say stressful, it's been fun. Like I've had so much fun doing this because I started from, when you said, when you said I opened up my own law firm with no clients, that I went straight to, I started my podcast and didn't know where I was
Hey, yeah,
going.
you got to start somewhere. 100%. You got to start somewhere.
And it's like, one of my, and he became a friend, but one of the guests I had on, Corey, he was like, I told him, I said, man, it was crazy because I threw it out there to Facebook, and I'm thinking like a lot of my Facebook friends are gonna like and follow me, or gonna, subscribe, and it didn't happen. And he's like, well, you're not doing it for them. You're doing this for you. This is you. You're putting your content creating for yourself, and people get the benefit to like or not like it. So, I definitely understand the whole aspect of
Listen,
starting from ground zero, but it makes the journey that much more sweeter because it's, hey, I remember when I had nothing, and now the song started from the bottom, now we're here.
yeah, right.
Started from the bottom, now the whole team up.
Yeah.
So now I definitely understand that, B. So I gotta ask, how has the ministry, you just became a pastor,
Mhm.
correct? So
Mhm.
how is that with the, so I mean, man, you're a triple threat. Hold up, I just thought about that. You
I'm
got the
busy.
business, you got the husband and the kids, and a pastor. So how does that, so how is that working with everything?
I mean, it's gonna work. I make it work. It's busy. It's certainly busy for sure. I take ministry very seriously.
Mm,
Ministry is, every day of the week. Because of my upbringing and because of my parents, because of what was instilled, because they trained me up in the way I should go, so I didn't depart from it when I was older. Ministry is certainly is up there on our priorities list, and I take it very seriously that family is our first ministry. But then it spreads. To, I'm sorry, it's wanting some attention, like
You're
as usual.
good. You're good. This is a family podcast, so we believe in doing what we got to do for our kids. Somewhere else may not, but here, do what
Okay,
you got to do.
okay. I just didn't want them all in here because he gonna see himself and then want to get more of himself in the camera. Know what's going on here. But anyway, yeah. So what I do, how am I doing it? Glory be to God. All glory to God. I mean, that's really it. He
Hmm.
gives me the strength, he gives me the energy, and he gives me joy while I'm doing it. I truly enjoy doing ministry. I truly enjoy it. It's one of those things that it is, it's not, it is about serving God, but it's a passion again. And I think that's the bedrock of it, is that I love to help people. And so ministry is all about helping people, and so that's, that keeps me going. I mean, that's, your passion is anything that you do for free night and day at any time, and
Oh yeah,
helping people
it
is one
sounds
of my.
like it. It
Mhm.
sounds like it. So ministry helping people, lawyer helping people, mom serving the kids. I can see that. Like now that you've said all three trifectas, it's like, oh wow. Like I've known that. I've seen it in you, but then to hear it, it's like, holy crap. Like now it all makes sense. Like this is, you're summing up, you sum up who you, if I could go as far as to say, if I may, you sum up your characteristics by serving. You live to serve and help other people, and that's where your joy and happiness comes from, is the fact that I was able to help you.
Yeah. I will say that does sum me up pretty well. I was an actual server. I was a server for a decade, for 10 years.
Yeah.
At Red Lobster, at Logan's, and but even in doing in just the simple things like that, when people would tell me, I'm just so glad, I was having a really bad day, but your smile and your kind demeanor, it just really made my day better. That always made me feel good, is to
Hmm.
make others feel good. And so that's been my journey. That's been my journey. I've always just wanted to help people, and I think that's why my leaders felt like it was. I'm a firm believer in God creates you exactly how you are for the ministry you can go into. Sometimes
Okay.
it's just a helper. Sometimes, everybody don't come out squalling like a preacher, right? But
But
to
you
have
can sing, girl. It's okay. We gonna say it on here, girl. You can sing, and Lord, look, y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all, she's being very humble right now. But I'm gonna be the braggadocious best friend. My bestie can play the piano. My bestie can play the drums, and my bestie can sing. Yes, she can sing. Do you? I can't remember. Do you touch the guitar?
Yeah, I actually have one right here. So
Yeah,
I'm
there
learning
you
the guitar.
go. Yes, I'm gonna brag. That's my job. I'm on here to uplift her. Okay,
You didn't have to say all that. You didn't have to say all that. You certainly didn't.
I'm gonna have to. I had to. I had to. I'm gonna brag about it because shoot, I know what my best friend can do.
I try. I do try. But at the end of the day, like I was saying, I just think for me, and you've known me a very, 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 very long time. And I just, I think sometimes we even find what God has called good to be character flaws. I
Hmm.
always wanted to help people. I always wanted to, and I always had compassion for folks, even when they may have done me wrong. I always had compassion for them, didn't want to see them down or bad or hurt or anything like that. And, I am now coming into the knowledge that it's not a character flaw, it's how God made me for his ministry, which is, why I believe being a pastor was the correct path for
Calling.
me.
I mean that I love it. I'm loving it. I mean, tell the world about you. So like I don't want to forget anything, but what type of law are you? I mean, are you practicing? Just so the audience knows.
So I do business and real estate. I do business and real estate. And essentially it's really, I again, helping others. I'm helping other business owners like myself do their formations, get their money together, because ultimately I want to help them establish generational wealth. This is especially for my people of color, but those who are not of color that may just not have the information. People, period, right? If you got red blood, you're somebody I want to help. If your blood is red, if you got hair on your head or you don't, it don't really matter.
Yeah.
Somebody I want to help. But to ultimately establish that generational wealth, because I have watched, especially blacks, especially those of color, that what has been our biggest stopping point, our biggest hindrance, is that we just don't have the knowledge. We
Facts.
just don't, we don't set what we're trying to do up correctly, and so it can only stand for so long, and it doesn't become generational because after a year the business crumbles because we didn't have the correct safeguards in place, or we didn't have the information or the partnership agreement in place, or whatever that might look like. In
Mhm.
your particular situation, we just didn't have anything in place that would make it a solid something, a solid entity to move us into the next generation if possible. And so that's what I do. I want to help those. I say business and real estate, because real estate is the number one indicator of wealth. Owning real estate.
I did
Owning
not
real
know
estate.
that.
It's something to know. And the biggest reason I say that is because it's the number one indicator of wealth, because when you get to a certain point in making money, you have to buy stuff in order to keep your taxes down. And the first thing, and the thing that you can buy in duplicate and triplicate and get those tax advantages, is real estate. And so,
So you're saying that so like for people like for first time home buyers like myself who
mhm.
own a home, you're saying that it we could be looked at as wealthy, or is that just an indicator that you have some type of income? Or
Well, so your real estate is the one thing that is the most protected. Your home, let me say this, your homestead is the number one thing that is most protected by the law in the state of Texas. It is the one thing that is the feasible to the next generation, that is and it's uncontested. In other words, the only thing that can take your real estate from you is, if you don't, well, the bank, if you don't pay your mortgage, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
But The bank if you don't pay your mortgage, and the tax man if you don't pay for the land that you're sitting on, right? For being in the county. But a judgment creditor can't come in and take your home. Somebody who's mad that they can't come in and just take your home. You have to, unless it's attached to the home, and then you have to go through this whole foreclosure process. Your home is the most protected thing that you have, right? And so it's not so much being considered wealthy. When you have a homestead, you are the most stable that you can be, okay? And stability indicates the capacity to grow, right?
Okay.
All right. So that's your homestead. Now, when you start making the big bucks, when the family gets to over $250,000 and they're bringing income at that point, and I'm not anybody's CPA, so I say it with that caveat, but at that point, if you don't have enough in your business to to make some significant expenses, you need to start buying real estate. And I
Okay.
think most CPAs will tell you that. And so when you find somebody who is buying and selling or just buying real estate and maintaining that real estate, it is an indicator of wealth. Okay.
Okay. So is cars considered real estate, or are you talking about property,
Actual
homes? Okay.
actual property,
So
homes.
just so y'all know, don't go buy cars when you come into money thinking,
Cars
oh,
are
I
not
got
real
property.
estate.
Nah,
Cars are not real estate, and in fact, sometimes they're a depreciating luxury, really.
that is facts. I read that.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a depreciating luxury. And so when you buy a car, I do not tell anybody to not go get what they want, because I'm going to get what I want every time I hit that car lot. You hear me?
Mm-hmm.
But if you are in a growth cycle, you want to be wise about what cars you get, right? If you're, especially if most of it is coming out of maybe a single member LLC or something like that, you just want to make sure that you can get the car, right? But make sure that it is something that you're going to use, because you get tax benefits for purchasing a vehicle. So something you're going to use so that you can get the mileage and all of that good stuff. You can't buy it and then it just sits there,
Yeah, you
right?
got to use it.
You got to use it. You got to use
Okay.
it, and then make sure you're using it, in some way for the business, right? There's many things that I can say about that, but the number one indicator of growth and wealth is going to be the real estate.
So with starting a business, because I'm gonna ask for myself, y'all can just watch because y'all are watching, y'all are the audience. So starting an LLC and all that other stuff. So what is that a painless process? Is it a difficult process? Like what's without going too much, because I don't want to take from your clientele, but like just what does that process look like for the average person who's thought about that or is thinking about that?
And starting an LLC is not a painless process. It is, I'll say this, it can be painless, but it's not and should not be as simple as some people have made it. I'll say that. Okay. The LLC is probably one of the simplest formations that you can do, but after the formation, there are some necessary steps that should be taken to make sure that that LLC can withstand the test of time. You can do your formation through the Secretary of State. You can get your EIN through the IRS website. None of that is going to be difficult per se. The difficult part comes in when you have to do your governing documents. And your governing documents say how this thing is going to work over the next 10, 20, 50 years. That's the part nobody wants to do. Okay. Your
Mm,
operating agreement. I get most of my litigation cases, or a lot of my business litigation cases are partners that are falling out because nobody put it in writing how this thing was going to work.
okay.
Okay.
So it's not a standard 50-50. So like let's say just throwing this out there. Let's say me and the wife start an LLC and then we divorce and separate and we want to split the business. So it's not an automatic 50-50 split.
You can. I mean, at that point, it's probably going to be an automatic 50-50 split. But this is what happens. A lot of times, I'm not talking about you specifically, Ashley. A lot of times, I'll use you and your wife as an example. You and wife form an LLC. You have worked in the business. You go out and get the clientele. You are doing all of that. And wife is doing her own thing. And so you build the business to be a $500,000 business, and then y'all get a divorce, and wife wants half.
Mm-hmm.
Now you tell me how you want to handle that. You're going to be up in arms. I don't want you to have half because you didn't even put any sweat equity into this. I put all my time and all my energy and all my money and put my career on hold and X and Y and Z, and you don't deserve half. And that's where the problems happen, right?
This is where that's it. So that's the nitty gritty, man. I'm telling you, man. I hope y'all are paying attention because this is some breadcrumbs right here. We ain't gonna give you the whole loaf. We're gonna give you some breadcrumbs, but this is just so because I'm not gonna lie. I've thought about it, especially with me doing this podcast. And let me ask you, how long should a person wait, or is there a waiting period if they're like, hey, you know what, we'll use music. Hey, I want to start my own studio and create a LLC. That's today's passion, and then tomorrow's passion maybe I want to draw and do artistry or whatever. But how long should a person just automatically say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna go do an LLC because I want to do music and I want to sell music, and then 5 years later, does that LLC have to change because now they want to do something like a different hobby or pursue something different?
Honestly, as long as you, with an LLC, as long as you maintain what you're supposed to do, like doing your franchise tax, reporting and stuff like that, pay your taxes, an LLC is perpetual. That means it can go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever as long as you do what you're supposed to do. You can also have as many LLCs as you want. So if today's passion is music and tomorrow's passion is cutting a lawn, you can have, DJ's Music LLC today and DJ's Lawn Services tomorrow, LLC, and it's a $300 service charge, what I encourage, you can certainly do that. There's no waiting period. And I actually advise, free breadcrumb, I advise that, people not do business without having an LLC. And the reason that is, I know a lot of people do stuff as a sole proprietorship because they don't think that a lawsuit would ever come, or they don't think that anybody would, be upset about them or their services. I'm just doing music, And what happens is, as that sole proprietorship, your personal assets are not covered. Your personal assets are not protected. And again, that's why I work in this, because a lot of people don't understand that just having those 3 little letters behind the name of your company and that $300 paid to the state of Texas can protect your livelihood, period.
So sole proprietor leaves you open for your assets like your home, your cars, whatever, to be touched. An LLC makes it to where the business is separate from your assets, correct?
Correct. Yep. Yep. It's like having a whole nother child. See, a sole proprietorship is like you going in there and saying, my name is DJ's Music today, right? It's just AKA of who you are. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the LLC is like having a baby and saying, this is my baby and I'm responsible for this baby. But if we get in trouble concerning this baby, it's the baby's name on the lawsuit and not mine. It's the
Okay.
baby's social security number on the, on the line and not mine. Right. And I mean, that
Yeah.
sounds,
It
as
sounds
humans,
horrible.
it's messed up, but it is a completely separate entity. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe I don't even say baby. You give birth to a grown adult. That's what it is. You give
Okay.
birth to a grown adult, and if the grown adult goes out, and you might be sad about them getting thrown in jail, but it ain't you, right? If they
Yeah.
go out and commit a crime.
Yeah. I like the way you cleaned that up because somebody may watch this and be like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
they're like,
Oh my
they
God.
talking about babies.
She's gonna leave her baby out to dry.
No, I'm not leaving babies out to dry. So let's say you adopt a grown adult. That's what you did, okay? But that's essentially that's what you're doing with the LLC. You have an LLC and you have a completely different or separate entity from yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
it puts a wall there. We call it the veil. We puts a veil there that hides you behind the veil and the business is out front.
Okay. Can a church get an LLC, or does the church is a church business kind
Yeah.
of different?
The church can have an LLC, absolutely, but the church is also a nonprofit. And when it registers as a nonprofit, that is also a separate entity from the pastors and the people that are part of the church.
Okay. All right. Bro, I'm telling you, you educating your bestie today because I'm definitely gonna be calling you, especially about this, because I need to get we're gonna have to get this my situation rectified. But I mean, that is crazy. Like I really didn't know the difference between the sole proprietor and the LLC. I've read up on it, I've looked into it, but I've never really like kind of dived deep into it because I didn't. I've always only known LLC because even my cousins was telling me, yeah, I have an LLC. I have an LLC. I'm all like, how did you get an LLC? What are you hold on,
Mhm.
what are you doing? Oh man, you just go down there and pay $300, you get an EIN and you get this. And I was all like, it can't be that simple.
The process, the process to get it, the process to start an LLC is not difficult. And I
Mhm.
wouldn't tell anybody that. Now, the process to make sure that it's a stable LLC can be. And that's where I
Okay.
come. That's
So without taking away from your clientele, so some just if somebody's watching, how do they know if they have a stable LLC versus a shaky LLC? Like, what's the determining difference? Is it more so what the contract behind the LLC, or is there something in particular?
if they have an operating agreement. If they have an operating agreement for married couples, if they have a postnuptial agreement, that's also part of those governing documents. If they have all of their tax documents done, if they're being taxed as an S corp versus a pass through entity, knowing that information and the difference between that. So I mean, there's just layers of things that I can
Hmm.
think of. Making sure that there's an operating agreement, a partnership agreement, if it is a partnership, the postnuptial agreements between the husband and wife teams for that, the taxing information, and if there's, and these are things that you can talk with your attorney about, or you can talk with your CPA about. You should be talking to both of them about it to make
Hmm.
sure that all of it is lined up and good. But those are just kind of the basics, right? And then you have things like non disclosures and non competes and those kind of documents that, if you are to employ people, what those documents should be saying to protect your intellectual property and to protect, the processes and the systems that you have in place. And the list goes on and on and on and on.
Okay. Yeah. People, hello. This is your attorney right here. Y'all can't see my hands, but I'm telling you, this is your attorney right here. This is who you need. So how far is your reach? I know with attorneys y'all have like you're licensed to practice in Texas. So are you just limited to Texas, or do you have like the sister state Louisiana or Oklahoma, North Dakota?
No, so we have reciprocity with some states. I don't plan to really practice in any other state. Not that I won't, but I don't plan to practice in too many other states. My little sweeties is she's having a
She's
tough
having a
time.
meltdown.
She's
Don't worry, Nisi. That uncle's almost done with your mom.
she's having a meltdown. I'm not really sure why, but no. So my reach is all of Texas, and I have cases all over Texas. But for many. For many lawyers, they practice, and a lot of New York lawyers also practice in California and also practice in Oklahoma and Delaware, because for a lot of business attorneys, that's the hub. That's one of you can get a Delaware. They make it the easiest for you to get incorporated, Delaware. And so Wyoming has different rules for the trusts and the series LLCs and stuff like that. And we have series LLCs, and we can talk about that if you want to. But many people don't know that exists, and it can be a big
I don't
thing
even
for
know what a
a
series
lot
LLC is.
of
I have
people.
no earthly idea what that is.
I usually use it for my real estate clients, but yeah. So I mean, for me, I just practice in Texas. That's my
I gotta
reach.
ask. So what is because you piqued my interest. I'm literally in my head. I'm over the series LLC. What is that? Like
Yeah.
you can't just throw that out there and not tell me what it is. What is it?
Yeah, most of my clients don't know what it is either till I say something. So, like I said, I usually use it for my real estate clients, but a series LLC allows you to establish one LLC, and you can put multiple, we call them businesses or LLCs, under this one LLC, and each of them have a pocket of their own liability. Okay. So you have your LLC, your regular LLC, and there's limited liability, but everything that's under that LLC is reachable for that liability, right? So if you get an LLC and then you put 4 properties into that one LLC, somebody break their neck on one of your properties, they can get to whatever insurance you have for all of those properties in that LLC, right?
Okay.
Now, if you do a series LLC, you have basically it's almost like a holding company, but the main LLC. And then under it, you have series 1, series 2, series 3, series 4, and they're like little bubbles that have their own liability. So if somebody falls and breaks their neck on series D, in series D, the only liability they can get to is series D. It leaves the other ones alone. And that's the simplest way of describing a series LLC.
That is, I had no earthly like. I had nothing. I didn't know about it. I did not know. I didn't even know it went that deep. Like I knew again, I knew the basics that LLCs cover you, but I didn't know that from one LLC you can have a multiple LLCs that are all connected to that one LLC. So is that mainly a good thing to use for real estate, or is that like, okay, let's say me and my cousin want to do business together, and I'm like, okay, hey, I'm gonna be the main LLC, and then your LLC can fall up under mine, but you still have your own. Like, would that kind of bubbling effect still work, or would
Yeah,
that be
I
something
mean,
different?
in theory, it could work. I usually just recommend that they get a separate LLC because
Okay.
the way that it's structured, in my opinion, it just works better for like real estate or investments, right? And
Hmm.
those investments, you can put in one bubble, all the expensive artwork you have, and in another bubble you can have a house, and in another bubble you can have all of your expensive cars. And if anything goes wrong with any of those, it can't get to the other investments, right?
Okay.
But as far as businesses, because businesses are moving money in and out and stuff like that, I would recommend that you just get another LLC. I mean, for that $300, that makes the most sense to me, because even though they're all in their own little bubble, they still all fall under the same operating agreement from the main LLC. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
No, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. Well, I'm not gonna hold you up any longer. I can't really think of anything else unless you got something else you want to share with the audience.
No,
Any breadcrumbs you want to? Any more breadcrumbs?
words of, I mean, just basic words of wisdom. There's nothing you can't achieve. I'm one little black girl from the middle of Corpus Christi, where there was 3% blacks in the whole city.
Facts.
you know,
Facts.
I went through my own stuff. I was a little bullied here. I was a little bit of a nerd there. Been the, cute nerd. I've been the, that was insecure and, uncommon. I played the cello for 26 years. And so that didn't really fit in with our people.
I don't know why my mom played the cello.
The cello.
My mom played the cello. I mean, I think what I love most about you and your family is the music.
That's everybody.
I was telling one of them, we I did an episode not last week but the week before last, and it was back to the 90s, and we were talking about music and just how the music of the 90s was different from the music of today. And like I was telling them, I remember the moment I fell in love with music. Like I was watching Dirty Diana, and when Michael Jackson was just on stage and the wind was blowing and he was just,
Yeah.
that was like one of my, like at that moment I was like, oh my god, I want to do this is something I want to do. And then when I got into beat making and dropping beats, my love for it just kind of went to the next level. So one of the things that I've noticed, looking back at it, one of the things that I vibed so much with your family about was music. I mean, the love y'all have and the passion y'all have for music is it's so inspiring, man. I mean, I remember revivals where Mama Booker was up there directing the whole city revival choir, and you were up there singing, and I think Farron would be playing the drums, and we'll have somebody else on the organ. Man, I remember all of that. So like,
Yeah.
man, that is crazy. Brought me back, brings tears to my eyes.
I know. I know. We've been going through, me and my sister, Brianna, we've been going through these songs that are just like, now I feel so nostalgic because it doesn't feel like it was 20, 30 years ago, you know?
Yeah,
I'm like, it was how long? What? How
yeah.
old am I? Hold on, wait a minute. When did
It's
that
like
happen? I
it's
was
like
15
yo,
yesterday. What happened here?
yo. I'm telling you, man, it's crazy. Like how much things have changed but stayed the same.
That's
You know,
right.
like one of the things I'm so grateful for, and I'll say it on the podcast. You know, I'm grateful for your friendship and the love you've shown me and my family. I'm so grateful that I'm grateful that you're successful. Like, you know, that's one of the biggest things. I remember when you were a server at Red Lobster in Logan. I remember you graduating. I was at your graduation. I remember you. I'm doing this crim. I can't go out with you this weekend, DJ, because I'm studying. I got tests. I got this, and you know, we were just all like, "Oh man, Brittany's just so busy right now." Well, you know, hey, this is the payoff, man. Like I'm so proud.
Thank you.
I am very proud of you and what you achieved and what you're accomplishing and what you have yet to accomplish. Honestly, I see you as the next DA or something. You know, hey, whatever you go up there for, you know, I see you achieving it because you just have that go getter mentality. Like I really feel like you undercutted yourself because you to achieve what you're doing and to do what you're doing, it takes grit. It takes a lot of sacrifice. It takes a lot of hard work and due diligence and to go in it green, not going under any other law firm, but to say I'm going to do it myself. Yo, that speaks volume about the character, about your character. And man, I'm a firm believer. Give roses when they're due.
Thank you. I don't know. I mean, I could call it a little bit of a false humility, but truly, I really am humbled. I believe, in my view, the most successful people stay grateful people, right? They're grateful
Mm,
people because I understand that anything, anything could have derailed me and in my journey. And it's only by grace that I'm here. And so I appreciate that. And I love you. You know, I love you, your family, from your mama to the youngest of your babies. Y'all are all my heart. And I have appreciated your friendship because every step of the way, you're right there. Come on, Britt. Hoo, hoo, hoo.
oh
That's my
yeah,
best friend. That's
yeah.
my best
I'm not
friend.
going nowhere. I'm not going nowhere. You can't, girl. Look. If you are a number two pencil, I'm your eraser. I'm going everywhere you going.
Well, you've
Shoot.
been there. You've definitely been there. But I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for friends like yourself, for people in my life that, I'll say this, in all that I've done, I have learned one thing, that people are not always happy to celebrate you when you do good.
That is facts. Family
Yeah,
included. Family
family
included.
included. And, so to have people like you in my corner who are always eager to celebrate me and vice versa, that
Yeah.
means a lot to me. I'm about to cry, but it's
Nah,
always,
don't cry. Please don't cry. Don't cry, girl. Don't cry. Cause then I'm gonna cry and we're gonna be on this podcast crying. But nah, I mean, I feel that in this day and age, friendships and genuine people they're so rare.
so rare.
And I'm saying this as a content creator myself. Most people in today's time, there's an angle. Okay, I'm gonna give you words of affirmation, but I'm gonna do y'all keep there's a camera in front of it, and it's
Hmm.
like I don't feel that that's genuine word because. I'm gonna encourage you behind the camera, and I'm gonna encourage you in front of the camera. I don't need a camera to encourage you because I'm
Yep.
gonna be that. Hey, keep
Yep.
up the good work. I'm watching. If nobody's watching you, just know I'm watching you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and we have to encourage one another.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
grateful to Jay because he's taking care of my best friend. He's looking after my best friend. You know, like I couldn't ask for anything better for you because you know what? I have a best friend and my best friend has a husband and her husband is making sure that she's good. What more can I ask for as y'all keep up the good work?
Yeah.
I'm
And he
happy.
does take care of me. He does. I give my husband his flowers because he is struggling with my daughter right now. She's tripping. No, he really does take care of me. You know, I had my birthday last week, and you never forget it. So you wrote me and everything. I had my birthday
Mm-hmm.
last week, and I mean, he just made sure whatever you want to do, baby, whatever you need, whatever you know. And I do realize that now. You know, sometimes I think there was a time where I used to doubt, you know, is he just putting on a show? You know, is my happiness really his mission? You know, I don't know about that. And I truly believe that now. You know, I
Yeah.
think over these 9 years, over these 9 years, 8.5 years, you know, he's gotten to me. You know me, as
Yeah.
sweet as I am, I could be a tough cookie sometimes.
Yeah. Come come on now. The first time I met you, you hit me in my shoulder real hard in the pool, and I was over there like, yo, that stung, and you're toughen up. Toughen up.
I said, come on, toughen up, get tough.
But yeah, man, I'm telling you, bro, like it's been a whirlwind of a journey, and I'm so glad that I've had friends like you to accompany me on this journey, and I don't know where it ends, but I know that I'm enjoying the ride.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it's gonna be a much, much longer. It's gonna be a long ride. We still
Yeah,
going. We
yeah,
got a long time
we gonna ride into the sunset,
to the
till the sun
sunset.
don't rise no more. But shoot, but yeah, I hear little mama, so I'm gonna let you get the last words before we close it out.
Okay. Like I said, just be encouraged. Always stay grateful. You know, keep God first. That's number one advice, top of the list. Everything else is a far down second. You know, and one thing I want everybody to know is never let your circumstances define your future. It's just not real. It's not real. Anything that you think about, that you want to do, don't let people discourage you from doing it because they didn't have the courage to do it. Always do what you feel, and you know, ask God to order your steps, man, because He will. People don't really see it till they see it. But you sit down and say, God, I this is what I'm really feeling, and I want you to order my steps. He'll do it just for you. And so, you know, and keep good friends in your corner.
Good friends,
Everybody
good
needs good friends.
friends.
Keep good friends.
Yeah,
Take care of yourself,
yeah.
all that good stuff, you know. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, make sure that God, you know, you keep God first. Look up and always say thank you. And that's the biggest thing.
Well,
Always.
all right, y'all. Y'all already know what y'all got to do. On and hit that like, follow, share, subscribe button. Leave a message in the comments. Let us know what you thought about the video. Let us know if this was helpful to you. Um, I will definitely be putting her information out for y'all to reach out to. If you're in the state of Texas, you need business, LLCs, whatever, she's your girl. You ain't got to go no further. You've heard her. She knows what she's talking about. She knows what she's doing.
Can I
So
do a shameless plug for the firm?
go, yeah, yeah.
All right.
So y'all go on and do what y'all got to do. I want to thank y'all for tuning in, and remember, be cool out there. Take care.